This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Canna Health.
Hey cannabis consumers, have you ever consumed a cannabis product thinking it'll make you feel a certain way, but then it doesn't? Don't you wish you had a clear understanding of your own DNA so that you could make informed decisions about what type of cannabis products interact best with your system? Well, now you can with EndoDNA. EndoDNA is a simple DNA test that maps your entire endocannabinoid system and then matches that summary with a specific cannabinoid ratio and terpene profile that best aligns with your unique genotype. Imagine being armed with personal information when visiting a dispensary. You'll have the knowledge and power and capability to purchase products that best align with your genotype. Visit their website to purchase the EndoDNA Collection Kit and Endo Decoded Report at endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. Again, that's endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. The future of cannabinoid therapeutics is here with EndoDNA. Hey Craig, what's going on?
Hey, all good here in Austin. How are you?
Yeah, man. Before we started recording, we were talking about how you're in Austin for South by Southwest, and there's a lot of activity going on this week around cannabis and psychedelics. Is that right?
Yeah, the innovation part just wrapped up today. Music tonight, but yeah, I've never been here. I've been to Austin city limits. I've been to Austin now 4 or 5 times, but man, Austin, yeah, keep Austin weird. It's a fun place, fun week this week.
It is. Yeah. Has there been a lot of interest from your perspective regarding some of these workshops? I think you mentioned you were part of one of them or you attended one, psychedelic one, right?
Yeah, last night there's a group rented, an activation house last night. A friend, there's cool people doing just cool things. And I don't know, it feels like COVID or in these last couple of years it gave us all a chance to really look at, I think, the things that we were doing. But I feel like, new friends, new circles, new opportunities. And this week just feels like people are out and they're out. Maybe, some people haven't traveled. I've been traveling all during this time, but it's just like the kids are all out. They want to play. And now there's all these new conversations, crypto, NFTs, psychedelics, cannabis, and we're still in Texas. So it's still like weird, like all these things are happening, but guys, it's still Texas. But
right. It's Texas, but it's Austin, Texas, which is a little different from most of the other cities, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is you talk about COVID-19 and how that really brought about the opportunity for people to, I guess, reimagine themselves or kind of reinvent themselves in certain ways. And what I found very interesting before, obviously we scheduled this episode was what you did during the pandemic, what you and your family did. And that is creating psychedelic retreat called Rainbow Ridge in Santa Cruz. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah. it's I can, I know we're talking about cannabis, but we can
talk about whatever we want. Yeah,
we can talk about whatever. Yeah. So for me, I'm a pastor my whole life. I didn't try cannabis till I was 37. I didn't try mushrooms or MDMA or psychedelics till I was 42. And so I've been drunk once on my 21st birthday, Wow. Like I played by the big rules that religion put around me. And
you've always been religious your whole life?
Yeah, I got baptized at 7. At 16, I spent a month in Venezuela on a mission trip, evangelizing. And at the end of that month, they couldn't, Christians like to save you over and over and over again. I always thought the Mormons had it rough because they had to give up, the men 2 years of their life to go on a mission. But then I realized, no, Christianity, like I gave my whole life to this. At the end of this mission trip, they did kind of a altar call that said, God's calling some of you to full-time Christian ministry. And, I remember coming back into my senior year and telling my mom, my dad, I signed up to do this thing forever. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I think I'll be a pastor if that works out. But yeah, the thought of like making money or going into the world to do something, I don't know. I was just like, I was in that moment in Venezuela on this trip to go, okay, yeah, nothing else matters. So I kind of fast tracked. I got through college really quickly in 3 years. I got an internship at one of the largest churches there, and they ordained me and made me the junior high pastor. And
Wow.
so by 21, I'm in this big church. Yeah, I think, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I realized, do you guys really want to reach the kids that I want to reach here at the church? I know they skated on the tables or they graffitied this or they did that, but isn't that what we're like supposed to do? And so I started seeing just the rules of the church. And so working there for a bit, I just realized maybe I could serve the Lord or, do full-time ministry in a way that works for me. And so I started an organization called Fireproof Ministries and started putting on like youth events and conferences really all around the world, bringing in bands and, fun things that kids liked. And my real heart was just not for the church kid. It was for the kid that, maybe had never stepped foot in church. So that led me down a wild path of being able to not really put a fence around what I could do inside of, this organization. So, the internet comes out during this time, which seems crazy. And I'm talking to kids all the time. And at the time the internet came out, it was either music, porn, or chat rooms. So we started a site. I started a website in 2002 called xxxchurch.com. And it became the largest kind of place online to help people that were struggling with this secret addiction that they kind of held. So I did that really, really, really hard, really fast. I spent 20 years doing that. Some friends have said I could create a movement around anything. This was, from accountability to just seeing people break free of something that, was so kind of powerful in their life and maybe not in the best way. And so, I've been called the porn pastor and doing that. And I think finally on a mushroom journey.
You know what? Sorry to pause you real quick before you go there. I think that I correct that wrong, but you may have done a debate when I was in college and I attended it.
You did.
You were at Bucknell University. Was it with Ron Jeremy?
Yeah, for sure it was. We did that over 100 times.
Yeah, I was there, Craig. So it was full circle, man. We've come here. I attended that. I thought, I was a sociology major in college, and I was just fascinated by human behavior and socialization. And when I saw this come up, I think within the sociology department, I was like, I got to check this out. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel a little bit like WWE wrestling. Like Ron and I, like we drive into he would duck sometimes pulling into the college event. And I was like, we're really great friends. And I never wanted to debate somebody I didn't like. And so that gave me doing Triple X Church. I say this all the time, don't blame the dark for being dark, blame the light for not shining in the dark. And so when I got a chance in 2006-07 to start debating Ron, I had never taken a debate class in my life. I just was like, rad, this will be fun. And maybe I'll get to have dinner with him afterwards. And I didn't realize how easy it was to spend time with Ron. If you just offer to pay by dinner, like he's down. And so it got to the point where, we've done bus tours together. We've done this debate over 100 times over the last, 15 years. And, it was on Nightline. All over the place. But Ron and I developed this friendship that to me was what Jesus kind of talks about, just being friends with people. And we both had opposing views, but, for me, like the stuff with porn, I would always meet people on maybe like the worst day of their life, or you get a hold of the porn pastor when you get caught. So when you're Tiger Woods, when Tiger Woods, when you share the story of like his wife finding out and with the baseball bat and like, like
golf
him
club,
crashing the cook.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people you see on like maybe the TMZ or the stories when you send a dick pic or this, well, who do you call after that? And it's those moments where I'd end up showing up at a lot of people's houses and sitting with a lot of people. And I don't know, after 20 years, I think it just had its toll on me. And I never knew why, it's not like I chose that career path, but I got started to believe in, man, nobody else would do this. And I'm like, I'm that guy. And so it took reading Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, after some years with cannabis that got me that far. But I'm sitting on a trip on mushrooms and I realized I'm not that guy. I'm not that porn guy. And it hit me like a ton of bricks when all the downloads and the realizations of you're trying to prove you're not your dad. And I'd been carrying my dad's like secret struggle with sexual sin my whole life. I found a porno magazine in his car at 8. I found that he was going to strip clubs as a kid. And I didn't tell anyone because I knew if I told somebody, especially my mom, they would divorce. And divorce is, worse than anything in the Christian world,
right?
Sadly enough. So unconsciously, I think I just proved, and I went really hard. I mean, I got to do amazing things with amazing people, but it wasn't me. And so on mushrooms that one day, I was like, you know what? I'm just like the fun guy. I'm not, I don't want to, I said to my friend, I want to start a company called Creating Fun. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to start some things. I'm going to do art. I'm going to do music. I'm going to launch this cannabis thing. And that was the first thing to do after this mushroom experience. It was like, you know what? You've been sitting on this domain. You've been building content. Everybody on your team has told you you shouldn't do it because it will hurt your ministry, but fuck it. Like I'm doing it. And I'm driving down to LA that day. And
awesome.
It's just, the next day, literally, it was like April. This was April of 2019. And I decided I'm going to launch Christian Cannabis on 420. If Kanye is playing Easter service and he gets to do Coachella talking about Jesus, like I'm going to fly a plane over Coachella on the main stage at 4:20 in the afternoon on 420. And it's just going to say christiancannabis.com. And part of me felt like I'd done this before with Triple X Church, like started a conversation that wasn't happening. And so that's really what set everything in motion, to get to Rainbow Ridge and to do all the things that we did during COVID. It first took that leap of faith to say, you know what, I'm going to be okay not being the guy that I have been for 20 years. I'm going to step aside from that. And whatever I do next, I told my family, it's going to take me some time to get these things off the ground. I didn't know I would lose everything I lost, pretty quickly, because the church wasn't ready in 2019 for me to be the first pot affirming pastor. And so times have changed now. So in the last couple of years, and people, whatever now it's, if we're talking about this stuff in Texas, like we're ready.
It's fascinating, your journey, and your experience with psychedelics, psilocybin mushrooms, and that profound experience and how it was kind of almost is life-changing in a way. You totally shifted the direction and your focus of your purpose. It's been echoed through so many others' experiences. And that's what's beautiful about, I think, where you come from, is that you are based in religion, in that foundation, the word, how to walk it. And it's almost like you're using these natural plants, these natural ingredients that are put here on earth as tools to kind of help you through your path.
Yeah, you get it. It's like, I'm not giving what, Christians anyone in religion seems to give away a lot of their power to someone else or some other entity outside of themselves. But, I've got a degree in church ministry, a bachelor's, like I studied this stuff, but I've been on the spiritual path, since a really young age. And I've always been on the fringe, like, in all honesty, ready to bust out, but always just kind of seeing how far I can push things, traveling with Ron Jeremy, all the shit we took for that. Oh, you just, putting Jesus Loves Porn Stars on 300,000 Bibles and giving those out, like, just doing the things to make things,
Isn't that
to
so
me,
crazy that they'd get upset about that? Like,
I
doesn't
know
Jesus
it's,
love everyone, right? Like,
yeah. And then we got people over that hurdle. And then I went to a gay porn show and said, Jesus loves gay porn shows. And so it's like, I always want to find the thing. And so for me, yeah, cannabis, I don't give the power, all the power to the plant. Like it's God made this. I mean, however we want to say it, it's like, it's here. I got sick after my dad died. I can pull all this stuff together way easier now consciously after doing psychedelics, but unconsciously, I never saw all of this because I was going too quick. But my dad passed away in 2013, which set me on this healing journey. I wouldn't have found cannabis had I not gotten so sick. And I think it was my chance. It was my chance to go, you know what? Am I gonna keep proving I'm not my dad, or am I gonna break free from this? So I started on this path that yeah, I got in the middle of this, I got really sick, and I ended up in 6 different emergency rooms.
what type of sickness was it?
A headache that lasted 45 days, and I couldn't shake
Whoa.
it. I was trying ginger, I was trying, everything. And then it was like, dude, no, something's rupturing, something. And here's me, I'm still speaking at a church, I'm still going on tour, I'm still doing this. And I know all I had to do was slow down, but I didn't know how to disconnect. I now, I've got emails, I got this, I got that. And so I finally it took a few people to say, just stop. And so I eliminated my schedule. I said, for 3 months, I'm not going to speak. I'm just going to kind of sit in this. And I went to all the doctors. I had a concussion at one point. So I went to, from MRIs to seizure tests. They first thought it might be an onset of MS. Then it was like, well, I had seizures as a kid. Maybe those are coming back. So I got no answers, but I always got a prescription. And so I remember, like, I had a stack of prescriptions. My pastor said, oh, no, maybe you're just, dealing with your dad's death, and maybe you're this, so something's wrong with you. So I never filled one of the prescriptions. And I just lived in the pain. And I was like, you know
Wow.
what, if you can't give me an answer for why I'm sick, like, this is just, why are you prescribing this? So I watched the CNN Weeds documentary, late 2013. And I'm sitting there with the guy who I eventually do mushrooms with, 6 years later. We're about on our way to church with our young kids. And I remember I'm like, instead of church, dude, do you want to go get our medical marijuana cards down in LA and just do it? And he's crying watching the Weeds documentary, because he's just like, here's 2 Christians. And I'm like, dude, I've never smoked it. I've never and so we go online, I find a doctor. It's the shadiest fucking operation I've ever seen. I felt like I was doing something wrong, even though this was legal.
Right.
My medical marijuana card didn't even have my right name on it. It had my photo with my friend's name on it. And so when we got to the dispensary that they couldn't tell us was a dispensary, just look for the green door, they said, well, these cards don't match up. So we go back to the Skype doctor in the office, we get our real cards, and I come into the dispensary and I say, I watched CNN's Weeds documentary. I'd like high CBD, low THC. It's this Russian girl with boobs falling out of her, she's like, we have fucking top shelf here. That's it. What do you want? And I was like, what's top shelf mean?
Yeah, exactly. A person that's never even drank before, really, right? I mean, one time before that. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about?
So I said, I bought a cake pop. And nothing's marked like it is today. There's no limit, 100 milligrams. And I didn't want to buy anything I could smoke because I felt like that was so demonized. So here's me, a rule breaker, probably one of the biggest rule breakers that I know of inside of Christianity, just the small rules, but
right.
But I'm still
You're
not
a rebel.
okay to buy a joint, because I can't come back with a joint. And so I bought a few products. God, those days, I mean, it is so inconsistent. But what I watched is that over the next few years, I knew when I took this in my system, there's something good here. And California, we jump ahead to 2016, it gets legalized. I have my medical card, I keep renewing it. And now the dispensaries start opening up, people have more education about this. And so I remember finding like a brand of mints called Relaxa mints, and they were just 5 milligrams. And I loved it. It wasn't a high, but it was like it took me down a notch. If I'm, operating at a 9 or a 10, this took me at a 5 or a 6. And
Right.
I'm not playing video games, eating pizza all day. I'm still active. I'm doing these things, but I'm like, man, this feels better. My head starts, headache. I don't have some of the same problems. And so I'm an evangelist. So what happens? Like, I travel the world speaking at churches. I know everybody inside the Christian world, and a lot of them end up at my house. And I'm like, guys, the pizza's on its way. Put the kids to sleep in my back house, and I'm going to show you the magic of cannabis.
Wow.
And I was able to walk through with a lot of pastors and friends their first cannabis experience. A good friend of mine, I remember, he's like, I got to work on Monday. Am I going to be anxious? Am I going to be this? And I was like, are you an anxious person in real life? Yeah, I have fear of this. Well, cannabis, it's just shining a light on whatever's in there. Just let's work through this. And then I knew it was good. When dispensaries obviously started rolling out, I'd be the person to say, let me show you where you can buy this product. And it's not like a drug house. I'm taking them to MedMen, or I'm taking them to a place that's like, and I saw people heal. I saw people change. And then it took mushrooms though. Still, I'm like, all right, I'm sitting on this. I spent $5,000 on the domain, to buy from somebody on an auction. So I knew I was going to do something with it, but It took, for me in my life, the mushrooms to break free of just do it. Then it was like perfect timing, because then, COVID shuts down the world, and now I didn't have a job anyways. So it was like, all right, we can build the cannabis company, slowly as things open up. But the world was in a weird space. I had just found psychedelics, recently, and there was an opportunity that presented itself to move about 7 of us to a sacred piece of land that had been used for 40 years by a shaman. I never understood nature. I like nice hotels and nice rooms, but I hadn't spent out a lot of time in nature before cannabis or psychedelics. And now I was like going to move my family to 5 acres with no cell phone coverage, barely Wi-Fi, in the mountains of Santa Cruz during a pandemic. And all we did was open up our place for people that wanted to come heal. And nobody advertised and nobody talked about it online. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever been a part of.
Wow. All organic. Just come in, leave as you please. You didn't even charge, did you?
No, we, okay. I mean, even talking about this, it's gone now, but dude, I didn't talk about this to anybody publicly because I've got kids. This is a weird time. We're sitting, like I said, we're sitting in Austin at psychedelics events, but God, this is stuff still illegal in most places. Santa Cruz had decrimmed this, but the decrim laws say that you can't advertise, you can't promote, you can't sell. Basically, you're just not going to get arrested. So I was like, all right, Michael Pollan, like these other people can do these things. Somebody said to me, like, why can't you? And it was one of those things where like, we're going to open up our space. People showed up. The Bible talks about like the animals came in by twosies. Like sometimes we'd have 2 people, 3 people for a weekend. And then somebody would come, they'd come back. A lot of people came twice. The second time with their mom, with their partner, with their business partner, with their son, with their spouse. And then you're like, holy shit, like
That's
this.
crazy.
I've been in church, I've been on the stages, I've seen thousands of kids saved and all that. I've never seen what I got to see in my own eyes, where somebody puts an eye mask on, they give up a weekend, they give up their phone, and they drop into a space in nature with plants. And the first night of these retreats, we would do a cannabis meditation. And most people had never meditated with cannabis or never used cannabis as a spiritual tool. Well, that's all it's been for me. I used it spiritually before I used it, recreationally. Now, like, I have no problem medically, recreationally, or spiritually, but I think I don't want to put rules around, well, you can only do it this way. And so we started showing people how to work with plants in a different way. I'm no expert in all these things, but I've been creating settings for events really a whole adult life, bringing people into opportunities to experience things. And yeah, that year was an amazing year. Prior to getting there, all my Christian friends and my businesses inside Christianity, as soon as I launched the plane and it was in New York Times and High Times, like they were done with me. But I've been there before where people question your motives. When we showed up to a porn show in 2002 and people weren't ready for it. And I knew Triple X Church took me 3 years until I got my first church to say, come in on a stage. So it wasn't, I knew this would just take time. And luckily I had money from a house that's a pastor friend of me helped me buy in the first place. So it wasn't really even mine. I said to my family, if we sell the house and cash in our 401k, I think we got a shot at this, but this is going to take a bit to get the church on board with cannabis. We'll talk about psychedelics later, but cannabis is going to take a while. But when they get there, man, we're going to open up a whole new market. This is going to be a Jesus movement 2.0 that, like we've never seen before, because if people could get as free as I've been using this plant, I think we're going to see some great things in the world.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think you're spot on with your vision of where this company is headed, Christian Cannabis. And I got to tell you, like, I can totally relate and understand what you're saying and where you're coming from, because I grew up in a very, I'd say pretty strict evangelical Christian household is my background growing up. So, like you mentioned, getting saved, giving your life to the Lord. I mean, the dedication, the commitment to living a heavenly Christian life, that was all part of my upbringing. And when you talk about the stigma that you felt yourself, or the demonization you felt yourself of buying a joint and smoking the product, and as a consumption method rather than eating it, I get what you're saying. And so my point is basically, the question is, how have people responded within the community? I know you said there's been some that have shunned and whatnot, but I mean, how receptive are they? Are there some that are at least open to hearing you and kind of hearing you out from your perspective, or are they immediately shutting it down?
Yeah, I mean, now it's awesome. Obviously, the storm we've weathered. Same thing, Triple X Church. We're in the front page of LA Times 3 days after we launched that. And Pat Robertson's on 700 Club going, Jesus would never go to a porn show. And it's just like, all right, whatever. I don't need them all, and I think the great thing about Christianity, unlike some of these other religions that are all just kind of top level down, there's enough voices and leaders inside the Christian movement that you can find it. My church didn't allow dancing or a drum kit. Well, screw it. You can now go find a church. If two of my friends were, Rob Bell and Ryan Meeks were two of the first guys to come out and say, hey, it's okay if you're gay. And I watched my friend lose 90% of his church audience, but he's happier than he's ever been, living authentically.
Right.
And so for me, it was like, I knew it was going to come. I knew there would be backlash, but I've had 20 years of it. So when I launched the plane and I saw all the things that were happening, the cannabis industry opened up their arms. So, I meet the VP at Moxie at the time. He becomes a friend, a partner that actually goes, hey, I'm gonna help you with these things. The cannabis industry was just like, wait, a new audience? Are you sure they're gonna be on board? I was like, okay, not yet. Because the week after I launched the plane, my biggest supporting church in Ohio, they gave us $35,000 a year, and they sent a lot of people on outreach trips with us. I spoke at their church two times a year at least. They got on the stage, the pastor, and said, one of our missionaries that you know well is now a drug dealer, and we're cutting them off completely.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, all right, it's on. The following week, I'm in Maui leading the biggest Christian social media influencer mastermind group. All the blue checks that are on all the things. My business partner and I had started, I have a passion to help people sell things online. Like I've been selling things since baseball cards at 13. I know how to do the internet. If I can figure this out with porn, like against pornography. So I started to do some things helping people sell easier products than what I had. And I thought everything was going great. And we took a group photo in Maui at this amazing place after 3 days together. And I saw about half the crowd go, I don't know if we can be in a photo with Craig Gross anymore. And my business partner wrote the book, Jesus is Greater Than Religion. And I love Jeff. Jeff and I had an amazing ride together. I have no hard feelings now. But Jeff said, hey, Craig, I don't have a problem with cannabis. I grew up in Seattle, but dude, I do enough stuff inside Christianity, building family teams and some of these other things. I think you got to step away from the business. And so I was like, step away. And I didn't know how quickly ties would be cut. So that's when I had to go into, all right, I can make money pretty quick on things, but this was never about money. This was about this plant helped me. Now, my son has Tourette's. I started to see him using, I got a hold of Dr. Norm's, those cookies. They were like, okay, he's not going to smoke things, but I can get my kid a cookie instead of drugs, like real pharmaceutical drugs. And then about 3 months into this journey, I knew my wife was sick. I knew she was sick on an ayahuasca journey that I had. It was kind of shown to me. And she'd been being monitored for ovarian cysts since our second child. And we knew there was problems, but we didn't know how bad. And so it turns out she had cervical cancer. They've been focused on the ovaries and it shows up in the cervical. People said to me, it's because you're in sin, Craig, that your wife would get cancer. And that's when I'm like, fuck it. Like, you guys are wrong.
Right.
I'm not taking this bullshit anymore. Like, I'm sorry.
Good for you, man. Yeah.
Fuck all that. Because
Enough's
I'm not in sin.
No.
I'm like, these are spiritual plants. And dude, it was a friend I barely knew in cannabis who said, man, we give out RSO and let me show you the protocol. Let me show you that. And so here's somebody that I've shown cannabis to that would never had smoked. Like, she had a thing about smoking. And now I'm like, I brought home a protocol that involves 1,000 milligrams a day of cannabis. She took that through suppositories. So it would actually, when you work your way up to it, they showed us how to do it. So we're making capsules and suppositories and this. And then I watched her not be able to be a mom and run the kids around and do things. And I watched her body start to heal. I watched her drop into some of those, what I had experienced for 3-4 years at night or in my cannabis use slowly. I got to see over 6 weeks, just like, oh, this is how it works. It shuts down your body so you can drop in. And by the time she went in for her surgery, all sorts of risks. She got a full hysterectomy. No radiation, no chemo, none of that. It was RSO, the surgery. 6 weeks after, doctor says, yeah, I've seen things like this, but man, you're good to go. And wow. So that's when I was like, you know what? Okay, we're going after this. So that's when we decided, okay, let's go all in. I think the evangelist in me, it's always been there. Like, I want to show you what I've found. And yes, late in life, I found cannabis and other plants that have some great healing benefits. So COVID made people available, and they were like wondering, okay, do I go or do I do this? And so it was just like the perfect kind of thing to go, you know what, let me just work in small groups with people like I'd kind of been doing. And then the cannabis thing will take shape. It's going to take some time. And so how we got there, obviously at the end of, doing this event, doing this year, I got a call from the New York Times in October of last year that said, hey, do you know of any psychedelic retreat places? And it was one of those, like, you got to be kidding me.
You're like, I actually do. I know a host and you're talking to him right now.
I was like, and in that moment, I didn't call the New York Times. I didn't try and get press. If anything, I mean, I literally took people's phones and said, don't put anything about this thing, you know? And I was like, can I go on the record, off the record? And she's like, sure. And so we spoke for 3 hours. It was the first person that I could just say, here's why I did it. Here's my story. I ended up sending her a 42-page document that I ended up writing that night that just laid it all out. And I was like, she asked for some names. And so I still said off the record, I gave her 6 names. And some of these people have a lot to lose. $100 million businesses and so on, like prolific people that we saw homeless people, we saw billionaires. It didn't matter if somebody told you got to come. And so she said everyone she talked to said they would go on the record, and it was the most transformative event of their life. So then I said, you can put me on the record, whatever you want to write, whatever I've sent. And after that, I tell you, I kid you not, things just have all fallen in place. Cannabis, I get a call. We've helped a lot of people out of the porn industry. One of the most famous porn stars, Jenna Presley, gave her life to the Lord. She's now she's a preacher. And so her name's Brittany. I told Brittany, I want you to take the reins of the outreach side of Triple X Church and go back into the porn shows. I'm going to be leaving this. I told her all about cannabis, and I knew she'd be cool because she's a porn star and now she's saved. But she's like, you should meet my uncles. And I was like, who are they? Randy and Adrian. They started this cannabis thing called Candescent. And literally Candescent and Papa and Barkley were the 2 brands in cannabis that if I was going to build something, I love the look of Candescent. And I love the fact that Papa and Barkley, sorry, Mom, to rat you out on this, is the only cannabis that my mom, 74-year-old mom, will get delivered to her house because I gave her the topical. She hides it from most people. She's the church greeter at her. But I was like, wait, you Candescent people are... yeah. So I met Adrian, I met Randy. Randy connected me with Jacqueline, who was on the Candescent team, who also did the marketing and the brand for Lord Jones, Candescent, and Papa and Barkley. This is November now of, last year. Jackie goes, I can introduce you to Guy at Papa and Barkley. And so in December, I made a trip down to Eureka and I met Guy at Papa and Barkley, and Jacqueline, Guy, and myself have basically formed this corporation that is bringing Christian cannabis as a product now to market. Guy is coming on to be the formulator, and Jackie's done all the design, and it's just like everything I never could even imagine that these people now would want to be a part of this Christian cannabis thing, but they see the opportunity. The fact that Papa and Barkley doesn't even sell flower, Christian cannabis will be on a similar trajectory. We'll sell flower at some point, but it's not going to be our lead product. We might have some mini pre-rolls, but it's like, we know we're going to attract a beginner audience, and our job is to get them into the store or get them it delivered. And Jackie really is the genius behind seeing the market. She saw everyone going high THC and just trying to get people baked. And there was an opportunity to do a high CBD, low THC, and then put a scale together, a safe scale together where this stuff makes sense. So you're not buying the wrong product. And so we formulated some things. We got together. We spent some time together here in Austin 2 months ago. And tomorrow we have a meeting with one of the largest MSOs, and I believe we'll be acquired before we ever have to do this on our own. And we'll be nationwide at launch is what I've been saying. And it feels like a dream, but we have a lot of work to do. Obviously, we want to educate people inside the church, outside the church. I think what I've learned with Triple X Church is we did podcasts, we've done blogs, we've done content, 14,000 pages online. So I think we're going to build out that on the site. We're going to do some more things to educate our audience. And then when they're ready, the thing about Christians is we like our In-N-Out burger. We like Chick-fil-A. We like Hobby Lobby. We like,
That's right. All those faith-based brands, right?
Yeah. And so I joked, I was like, Kirk Cameron, I'm going to sell you, when this is mainstream, Kirk Cameron will want to buy this. Right now I'm the guy on the edge, but in the last 3 years, I've gone from being kicked out of the club I've given my life to in December, I had a guy I've known for 24 years inside the Christian world, Pastor Harvey Carey. He's out of Detroit. He said, Craig, come in and have a conversation with me on my church on Sunday morning. Same thing happened at Triple X Church. It took, I'm on Good Morning America. We're on all these things. And yet no churches are just silent. And it took a guy named Rob Bell 3 years into it to say, come do Porn Sunday. Harvey said 2 months ago, just come talk to my congregation about this. And I think the church is now ready. I got so many emails from that church in Ohio, from the people, the members saying, I'm sorry for what pastor said about this. He doesn't know what he doesn't know, but I travel to the other state to buy this, or I'm using CBD, and they can't tell anyone because we've told people we're recovery churches and these are addictive things. And we've got to break down that and give people permission. And I'm okay to be the person to give you permission to try these things responsibly if they're legal in your place. But man, we can't keep demonizing or calling this the devil's lettuce anymore.
No, that's the difficulty with the Schedule I listing. I mean, it's blurred the lines of what is actually defined as a Schedule I narcotic versus cannabis, which completely does not fall under that definition. I think it says cannot be used for medical purposes, highly addictive, and dangerous, to your health, which are all three things that do not check the box. But what you're doing is fascinating, Craig, and you're a pioneer, man, because you saw it before. You saw a niche within your space that no one was talking about, and that was a huge problem, right? Porn addiction, which still is today. And now, talking about the healing therapeutic properties of cannabis and psychedelics and how they can be beneficial within your religious or spiritual lifestyle. It's incredible, man. And it's amazing to see more churches being open and receptive to that. Like you said, you're getting invited. It's becoming more of a conversation. And I think that Guy and Papa Barkley, I mean, they're pioneers in themselves, right? And so they see this as a great opportunity because we've said it before, the cannabis consumer spans across any and everyone, right? Different demographics. And it doesn't matter what religion, what spirituality, what gender, what race. Most of us are consumers and we consume differently. And if you can apply it to your life, and it benefits, I mean, that's a win-win. And I'm glad that you found that in your journey. It sounds like it's divine intervention. I mean, everything that you talked about, like if you're a person of faith, there's something there that really the stars aligned for you. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's, one of the first guy, Mark, who helped me early on, I would say, Mark, here's my idea. We're gonna hit this thing. We're gonna get an MSO. He's like, no, we have to build this from the ground floor. I'm like, anyone that enters, not anyone. I felt like entering California market at this time, we were late, but Christians are always late to the party. So if I was doing this for any other group, we might be late, but I felt like we've got an opportunity here, but we don't have to, when I hear how Guy built Papa and Barkley, and you look at his facility with 80,000 square feet, we don't have to build it this way anymore because now we've got opportunities for other, if we can formulate and we can kind of control what we want here, we can find partners to go do this and we can launch this nationally. And so, yeah, people thought that was crazy. Well, how can you do this? And literally the first meeting we took, these guys were like, why wouldn't we just acquire you guys right now? And so I was like, does that mean somebody else writes the check instead of me? Because we were looking at bankruptcy 5 months ago. I said to Jeanette, like, we're not bankrupt. Jesus says, take up your cross daily. Doesn't mean die daily, die to self. And I think we put so much emphasis, obviously, on Jesus with like what he did. I look at what Jesus did and what he says, and the I in Jesus is the I in you and I. And it's like, be willing to die. And if you live your life that way, be willing to go bankrupt. Like I was willing to go bankrupt on this. I haven't finished it, but I'm going to release a book called Bankrupt but Spiritually Rich, because that moment of knowing, dude, I had $700,000 in my retirement and a $1.3 million house. And we gave it away to a retreat center that wasn't even ours. And we hosted retreats and we built a cannabis company. And then we've got some music projects, some other things, but I was like, I've had the most fun. And if my money was just sitting in the bank anyways, but the inflation, they'd just be taking it anyways.
That's right.
So,
That's absolutely right. Yep. Or in the market right now with everything being down. Yeah.
yeah. So I just was like, I'm going to let it roll. And I know the things are going to come back.
You're
And
investing in yourself.
yeah. And so, yeah, right now with Guy, with Jacqueline, with the team, yeah, I was at the end, not the end of my rope, but I knew, trust me, this story sounds good, but there's been nights I'm sitting there, you know, when you're smoking or you're just like, okay, am I too hot? God, did I really do this? You know, and then it's like, you don't have a parachute. You don't have something to go back on. And for me, you know, one of my board members, one of my closest friends, he's still a little ticked off at me. Because we've been great mirrors for each other. And so I've said, let it go. He's like, I got so much more money than you. I'm like, I know. And that's why it's so much harder. But until you're willing to do without it or let it go, you'll never, I think, see the whole blessings. And so
that's true.
I said to Guy the other day, like, what do we, you know, Guy was the first person that saw this idea bigger than me. And when I said, what do you think we're worth? And he throws out a number. I was like, okay, I like this guy because he believes in this like he's done it, and he's done he raised $70 million with Pop on Barkley. He's done this. So we're not going to make the same mistakes some of these other companies have done, because they were the pioneers. And Guy's an evangelist. Like, he's an evangelist for this plant. I say he's like the Virgil of cannabis, because he's an artist, but he's also, he doesn't put shit in his like he cares about it. And right. To have him on our team, to have Jacqueline, to have like the people that, I mean, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I just got an NFL player that met with a baseball player the other day. I don't know. People are coming out. And if I helped in that and said, look, I'm okay. Like, you know what? Jesus showed us all that. Like, man, they can put you on a cross, but they didn't keep you down. And if more people, and I think more people use cannabis, they can see things a little clearer in their life and live a little freer. And so, man, I can't wait. I mean, the day we're going to have products on shelves, I'm kind of a fake it till you make it guy. Like, I'll just believe. And when I flew that plane over Coachella, it was just my son, my friend Levi was with me, and one of my son's friends that came for the weekend. I was like, okay, you're going to come home with wild stories. Well, Craig flew a plane over the thing that said, but it was just me, and nobody was with me. Nobody was with me besides Nolan and Levi in support of this crazy endeavor to go this big and this bold. And I didn't let it stop me, and I went. And there's been moments I tried to get away from this project, but I couldn't. And I'm just happy to see, like, if you know, this isn't going to just be for Christians either. I hated, but I used to have to send him in high school. We would take our CDs or our tapes and exchange 5 secular ones for 1 Christian one. So, man, and then I was like, this Christian one's not even as good. So for me, our Christian cannabis is going to be just as good, if not better, because, man, what we put into this, what this team cares about, and we're going to be priced reasonably. We're going to be open for everybody. But our real audience is really looking for that, giving people permission to try this and being that first entry point into this space.
They need that, especially within religious communities, because like we've talked about, the hyper stigma that's been associated with the plant since prohibition. Right. And so if you have that opening, you have someone to kind of ease it in, who's from the community and who can speak intelligently on it. It's a win-win. Craig, you're on to something, my man. You don't need to have me tell you this, but keep going. keep pushing. You know what you're doing. You've done this before in a different capacity, and I wish you well, man. I hope that your endeavor and the team that you have around is good, that it all works out for you guys.
Well, thanks. Can I say two quick things?
Yeah.
There's a book that it's called Cannabis and Spirituality. I'm not the first one to say these things about spiritual plants. I met the author. He invited me to an event in Canada. He put on a spiritual plants conference. That book's a great read. If you hear this, and whether you're a Christian or not, like you just resonate with, man, this plant could be used as a spiritual tool. Cannabisisspiritual.com is just I made a Bible track, so to speak. You know how you used to give out and evangelize.
Yeah.
This one's like a cannabis, a plant track. And at the end of it, you can download the track or just visit the site. And there's a meditation that you can download. And so if you've never used cannabis in a way like that, there's some tools there. The book's a great read because this has been around. Sorry, Christians, like this has been inside of our stuff for a really long time. I'm really not the first guy to say this, but man, there's going to be a whole new wave of it. And I can't wait.
I can't either, man. I can't wait to try your product when you guys are on the shelves too. I'll have to get out to where it's available. Is there going to be CBD only, or is it THC primarily?
Oh yeah. No, I believe the whole plant, our the first offer in for money, a month after I launched the plane, was somebody to go play it safe, do CBD only. And it's like, no, here it's the whole plant. We will have a nationwide product, some tinctures and some products that are CBD only, but the whole line, the Christian cannabis line, is THC, and we'll launch those in the legal markets. But it won't be. You're not going to find a 30% THC thing on Christian cannabis. You're going to find I think the right balance. And so between Jacqueline and Guy and the rest of the team, we're stoked. And we're going to have some fun. One of the mock-ups we had was some communion wafers. So I don't expect churches to serve those, but man, I've eaten some shitty communion crackers over the years. So one of the thoughts was like giving people a way to experience this together in a way that is familiar but new. And so, but we'll have tinctures. We're going to have an endometriosis product as well, a tincture for women, so they don't get to the point where they have cancer in these things. And so working on a whole line of things. The first few products though will be your standards. We'll have a gummy, we'll have a balm, we'll have some tinctures. Man, I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, when they hand out those wafers and you continue to be speaking at more churches about this subject, let's have you back on, man. And we'll talk more about the evolution of this space because it's super interesting. All right.
Yeah, man. Thanks for what you're doing. Cause I think it's, just having a conversation is important. And if people can sit and listen to this, they can kind of see it. Like, here's another strict Christian upbringing, but like, man, like, I don't know, like cannabis is good. So thanks for championing this, man.
Absolutely. Yes, of course. And thank you all for listening. Until next time. Bye.